All right, in the previous lessons, we talked about the things that we have to do in the beginning of the project. First, we create a project charter, which explains why we are doing the project. And the other one is that we try to understand the stakeholders of the project because they impact everything. Do you remember the two characteristics of the stakeholder? That's almost like definition for the stakeholder. They have some type of interest in the project and they can impact the project. All right, so we've done those two things, and you also remember that we talked about the fact that we have to plan before we execute the project, like setting the GPS navigation before driving. Now, what we've done so far is a type of planning, but it is not called planning. We call it initiation because it's a special type of planning. And that's about the things that we really need to do right in the beginning. That's why they have a different name. Okay? So based on the PMBOK guide, the things that we've done so far, which includes the project charter and the stakeholder register, that's about initiating the project. And when you think about it, we have different questions about the project. Why are we doing the project? What we're going to create? And how and when are we going to reach that final product? And so far, we are done with the why question and a little bit about the what question, not a lot, just a little bit. And so it is now time to think more about the second question of what we are going to create. And at this point, you have your stakeholder register, you know who's going to impact the project, who's going to tell you about the requirements. A part of those stakeholders are those who tell you about the requirements, the customer, most importantly. But that's not the only one. There are, as we talked about, many governmental organizations that force you through codes to follow certain things. They are like requirements. And when you capture all of them, you will know the scope of the project, different elements that you need to have in your project, and the way those elements work, which is mainly described in the quality of your product. So these two together, the scope and quality, will define what we are going to create, the product, the final product. Now, the steps that we take is that we go to different stakeholders that are supposed to give us the requirements, and we talk to them and we try to understand the expectations of those stakeholders. We start with the expectations. And then, for example, let's say that shelter on the mountain, we expect it to be able to host up to 12 people, for example, and be okay for temperatures down to minus 25 degrees or something like that, and give them a possibility to, for example, sleep there and prepare simple food and so on. Okay? These type of expectations are those that you try to find out at this point. Now, to make it clear, we will organize different building elements of the product that will satisfy those expectations. We will create a hierarchy. For example, for that shelter, based on the capacity that is expected, we will design the size and the form of that shelter. So after that, we will know that we need to have a box-like thing, and because it has to be strong enough, it also requires to have a foundation. We may need to have windows, you may need a chimney or something, a fireplace. Those things, building elements, those are in that hierarchy. And we have a name for that hierarchy. It's called work breakdown structure, WBS for short. It's not about work really with a normal definition of work, it's about the product, but that's the name that is used. So we use the expectations to create the WBS, which is our scope, and then also we think about the way those elements work. For example, do we have earthquakes there? Is it going to impact the strength that is expected from that? Are we going to have storms and so on? Or for example, we need it to be isolated for temperature to keep it warm inside. It may be very cold outside, so it impacts the quality. And therefore, the other thing that we derive from expectations is the quality criteria. And when we do that, we will know what we are going to build. Okay. In the PMBOK guide, you remember I told you about the integration concept. We have different domains because we need to create expertise in those domains, and then we create integration among those domains. And so far, can you tell which domains are covered? We talked a little bit about scope, a little bit about quality, and a little bit about stakeholders. Those are the three. And you can see that there's a lot more to talk about. That's what we're going to do in the next lesson.